focus will be self-acceptance. My name is Angela Gibson, and welcome to Angie Speaks, where we are striving to be stronger than our splinters. And of course, today we have, as usual, Dr. Brown, our esteemed guest. And thank you for joining us, Dr. Brown. We're so appreciative of your time, that you're paying it forward free of charge for the support that we need during these difficult days. Thanks again. How are you doing?
I'm great, and it's great to be here, and I hope that everyone does benefit from what we're doing.
It certainly will. I'm sure they will, actually. Self-acceptance is such a critical component in order to thrive, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
But the question I have this morning, it's a juicy question. Why do people have trouble accepting themselves?
I would say the main reason is that they have an inaccurate image of who they are.
An inaccurate image of who they are, okay.
But
And when does this develop, this inaccurate image? Like, how does it come about?
It comes about because of the environment that you grow up in. You see, the environment tells us who we are. And if we grew up in an environment that told us either literally or through actions that we were not good enough, then we tend to believe that.
So the environment is playing a big role. Is that the only issue or the only thing that plays the role in how we accept ourselves?
The environment includes your parents, your community, the media. These days, children grow up on the media. I see little children in strollers playing video things. So we're getting messages all the time about whether we're okay.
I see. So how can someone be aware? Because sometimes you're not even aware that you haven't accepted yourself. And I really believe that awareness is such a big part of this journey of self-care, or to thrive, or to become the next best version of yourself. But what happens if you're just not even aware? Like, what are the symptoms that would make you become aware? Like, how would you even know?
Well, people are not aware because oftentimes we get used to whatever we grew up in. We think that that's the norm. And so we don't even it. And the times when we begin to question it is when we experience difficulty interacting with other people, noticing that other people may be functioning in a more healthier way. And as a result of that, we begin to put ourselves down, focusing on the weakness and think, oh, you know what? I'm not okay.
So here's another juicy question. Is there a difference between self-care and self-esteem?
Self-care and self-esteem? I think the person who takes care of themselves will feel good about themselves. That's self-esteem, how you feel about yourself.
But in order to get to the self-esteem, you have to accept yourself. So you would say self-acceptance comes first. You have to accept yourself first to be able to, at least I think so. I think once I became more comfortable with me, accepting me, then I was able to work. My mind was clear enough to work on the next best version of me. And continue. No? Yes?
In order to feel good about yourself, the first step is you have to be willing to accept all of yourself, the good and the bad.
Right.
And as you accept the good and the bad, the ideal is to work on the good, whatever your strengths are, to try to build those up, and then learn ways to manage your weaknesses so that they don't interfere with your ability to interact with other people and to reach your goals in life.
Okay. So what happens then if the neglect of the self-care that you talk about? Talk to us a little bit more again. Remind the audience what encompasses the self-care triad, because self-care apparently is major if we're going to accept ourselves. And I guess a good indicator that we have not accepted ourselves is that we don't take care of ourselves. That's what this comes down to, correct? And this taking care of yourself includes what?
Taking care of yourself includes taking care of your physical body, meaning that you have to eat properly, you have to exercise, you have to sleep. These are basic things. The fingernails and all of that is important, but okay. The thing is the whole body needs to be functioning in a healthy way. And then the rest of it is dress up. It's kind of like taking care of yourself is having a really good dinner, but by dessert. A lot of times I think people want to take the dessert and treat it as if they've had a good dinner, meaning that, well, you go to the shop, you get your nails done, you get your eyes did, you get all these kinds of things, and you dress it up, and you think it's okay. Well, first you have to eat right. Means you have to take care of those inner things that I talked about physically. And then in terms of
your nails, of course, because I haven't had my nails done in a minute, COVID. So I understand what you're saying.
And in terms of the next part that you have to take care of your soul, that consists of your mind, your will, your intellect, your emotions, your imagination. Now, your emotions is that's your heart. That's the heart of where you are. At least anyway, spiritually speaking, you know. And what goes into our hearts oftentimes it's not good. Again, you know, we were talking about when you have negative people around you who hurt you, it could leave you feeling bitter.
Right.
And that bitterness can give you negative thoughts. And then you start to imagine the worst things. See yourself in a bad way. You see other people in a bad way. You see the world in a bad way. And so taking care of your soul means taking care of that inner part of you that has feelings about yourself and about the world. And you want those to be good feelings.
So it sounds like you need to take care of this, the invisible part first, the unseen parts first, the inner man first, and work yourself outwards. It sounds to me.
I think they're equally important, you know. You can eat and dress and all of this and still think you're crap, in spite of the fact that you look good. You see, they're both important. And then the spiritual aspect of it, not to get things too complicated, is that you need to make a choice about whether or not you surround yourself with people who love you and are going to nurture you, or people who are hateful and are going to destroy you, although they come in a way that sounds and seems as if they're loving.
So the ability to be able to discern is also critical to this process. But I realize that I can only get to that place of being able to discern or tell the difference between those who are really good for me, relationally speaking, and those who are not. It's if I've taken the time to do the self-care. And sometimes, because we haven't grown up being treated right, especially in childhood, it's hard to make that distinction later on in life. And so we walk around, at least I did, with this marred understanding of who I am and who I was, and I couldn't pursue the next best version of myself because I was stuck in this normal that I knew. And talk about this normal, because sometimes what is dysfunctional is what we see as normal. So I had this, a bad relationship with normal. because I was attracted to dysfunction because that's how I grew up. So
No,
here's a question. Do you have something to say about that?
the normal means different things to different people. Normal is what your experiences were when you were growing up.
Right.
If you grew up feeling good about yourself, being treated as the best version of yourself, and people just thinking much of you, you're gonna feel that that is normal. That's okay. So if Mr. Bad News comes up to you and you are feeling very, very good about yourself, and he brought some, I call it okie dokie stuff, you're going to say, get away from me. There's not even going to be a discussion. You have confused me with somebody else. I have no more time for you. Now, on the other hand, if you grew up with a normal where you were treated badly, or, you know, there wasn't enough good, when Mr. Bad News comes, you're going to be confused. You're going to think the fact that he did certain things nice for you means that he's a nice person and that he should be in your life. However, he's doing one nice thing and 3 bad things, and you're all confused.
So there are many normals, so you have to be able to tell the difference between the good normal and the bad normal. Because sometimes we tend to think that normal is always good, but that's not necessarily true. That's your point. Okay, so let me ask this question. Is there a difference between what is the difference? Or, you know, why should someone seek to be whole versus being perfect? Is there a difference? What is the difference, first of all?
Well, there's a huge difference. First of all, perfect, the only person that I know is perfect is Jesus Christ. And he's God. And as far as I know, no one else comes up to that level. Perfect means you do everything absolutely right every single time.
Flawless, flawless.
Flawless. And so human beings just can't achieve that as far as I know. But being whole means that you know who you are, you know the good parts, you know the bad parts. You made a decision to manage those bad parts, and you manage those bad parts to the point that they don't interfere with your ability to love yourself and basically to love other people.
Okay, that makes sense. Why is it important? I know this seems like an obvious question with an obvious answer, but why is it important to accept ourselves?
Well, the basic answer is if you don't accept yourself, no one else will.
That's a hard reality. So, and how do you how do you get to this state? What is the process to accept yourself? If you have not yet accepted yourself, what is the process to engage in to begin to accept yourself? Once you realize that you haven't been accepting yourself, you're struggling with self-acceptance.
Well, I think the first step is to make a decision to go on a journey and be open-minded to see who you are. You have to be willing to consider that the norm may not be normal, especially if it's not working for you. So understand that there's someone under there. I and many other people call it your authentic self. That is yourself before you were damaged.
Right.
No matter when that damage started, whether it started at home with abusive parents or family members, or whether it started later on in school. You know, unfortunately, some people shouldn't be teaching. They teach and maybe they know their subject, but they're very unkind. Or whether it started on the playground with some kid who wasn't treated well at home and he's sharing his pain with you, the bully. Or whether it starts when you start dating, and again, you are engaging with someone who's never been really loved. And so basically all they're doing is sharing what they know. these things create wounds in our heart. And we have to sort out the symptoms that comes from those wounds before we can get to our authentic self, or or as you say, the best version of yourself.
The next best version, because we're on a journey, right? So we're always graduating to the next best version. Yes, indeed. So the process begins when you start to get to know yourself better, so you can distinguish between the different types of normal, discover your gifts, right? Like for the longest time, I just didn't think I had any gifts. Like, what are they? I just felt like I could do nothing right. And that was such a lie. You know, I love that song that Lauren Daigle sings, because it gives me such a reminder of who God says I am. He says I'm loved, I'm cherished, I'm worth it. So this developing your gifts is a critical one. Another one that you've shared with me is that I need to share my gifts with other people. How do people do that exactly? What's one way to do that?
Well, I think that before you can share those gifts, you have to understand, you still have to go back to that process. You have to understand that whatever environment you were born into and whatever environment you lived in, it's shaping you, it's affecting you. Something so simple as watching TV, you know? It's only, I say recent because of my years, you know, I've been around for a long time, but for a very long time, when you watched TV, all you saw was white people. You didn't think you were over there. I mean, that we were part of it, you know? And in fact, they did a lot of, they did one particular test in school to see how Black children felt about themselves. And I don't remember the name of the test, but whatever it was, it amounted to whether you would pick the white doll or the black doll. And the children always picked the white doll because the white dolls symbolized you're okay.
Wow.
Not true. You know, God said he made everybody okay. But when you get programmed with those sorts of things from home, from TV, from media, you start to think that you're not okay. So you can't even begin to know you have gifts. Okay.
Right. So essentially, you gotta discover your gifts and then develop your gifts before you can share your gifts. So this is all a process of self-awareness as well. And then the other thing is that you said that we need to be rewarded for sharing our gifts as you add value to your life. What does that mean?
Well, actually, before we get down there, I think there's some other things so people don't get confused and think, oh, I'm not okay, right? You have to understand that you are worth somebody. You are important. You are worthwhile. And at a certain point in your life, whether we realize it or not, we understand that our worth doesn't come from what other people tell us. Right. We decide who we are. As long as our worth comes from other people, we'll be happy when they say that we're okay, and then we'll be unhappy when they say we're not. Wow. I think be like the African. I love the African, okay? If you tell an African something's wrong with them, they'll say you're stupid, okay? And what that means is I am not paying any attention to what you have to say. Your opinion means nothing to me. I know who I am, you know? I know where I come from. And so I'm not gonna spend my time focusing on what you think because you don't like me anyway. Why should I listen to you?
Right.
You know?
So a healthy dose of self-esteem comes after you've accepted yourself, is what you're saying.
Yes, your worth. Now, once you respect your worth, once you understand that you are a worthwhile human being, you'll start to feel good about yourself. You will respect yourself, and then you will expect other people to respect you. And you're not going to put up with any kind of disrespect. You know, it's more like, and I'm not being arrogant.
Mm-hmm. You just
Everybody
love yourself.
can. No. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You have to be willing to treat me right, and I will treat you right. You know,
Right.
anybody can approach the queen. Okay? You need permission. All
All
right?
right now, nobody, anyone, not anyone can approach the queen. You need permission. I love that. Hallelujah. That's all I got to say about that.
So you have to, the next thing, you have to see yourself. You actually see yourself in that place where you are absolutely worthy. There can't be any question of it. You know, I think about someone in high authority. Like, let's say, let's talk about Obama, so we won't, get into any other stuff. Okay.
Okay.
You could not imagine yourself going up to Obama talk. First of all, you need permission. Okay.
Sure, you got to get through security.
You better have your thoughts clear. You can't be, throwing out any old thing and say, oh, I was just joking. I didn't mean that. Oh, no. Okay. Oh, you have to be clear about who you are. You have to have a picture in your mind of this woman is not somebody that you mess with. This woman is somebody that you have to show respect to. Okay.
Got it.
And then the next thing, after you get through those things, I think that you begin to understand that you have value. So you start looking for value in yourself.
Right.
What do I bring? What am I bringing to the table? For me, what did God give me that I can bring to the table that I appreciate and you must appreciate? And if you don't, that's okay. You don't have to hang, you don't get to hang around. No?
Step to the left, right? Is that the
left, like Beyonce says, okay.
If you don't get it, then you got to step to the left. That's funny. Wow. Powerful, powerful stuff. I know this whole thing about the self-worth and the self-respect because I experienced that in a very critical point in my life working for these agencies and companies for like 15, 20 years. And the thing that broke the camel's back for me was when my then boss said, if you were in India, I asked him for a raise because I was there for some time and I was bringing in all these sales. And he said, if you're in India, we'll just send you home as a cold caller and pay you $30,000. And I was like, no, he didn't. Because I was the only one there bringing in the sales. But the problem was because I didn't see my contribution and my value, didn't really get the idea of the self-acceptance and the self-worth. He felt comfortable to tell me that nonsense. So once I decided that no, I quit today, I started my own business, and here I am 14 years later, still running my own business. So it's such a self-acceptance is so critical, not just to survive, but to thrive. And I think during this period of needing clarity in this crisis, it can be hard to, especially with all the racial injustices and stuff, you can struggle with self-acceptance, feeling like somehow God made a mistake when he made me. And I am here to say and to tell everybody, no, it is a lie. And we must internalize the truth. So carry on. I just had to share that.
Well, wonderful. That's an encouraging story to let people know that, hey, where you are at this point in time doesn't have to determine where you can go.
Exactly.
It's who and whoever came in your life to encourage you and to support you. That's why you need supportive people around you. That's why you don't need haters around you. You need lovers around you to say, you can do this, you can make this happen. And if they can help you open up some doors, well, you're on your way, baby. Okay?
That part is very important. Supporting people. Yeah.
So the question of knowing your potential is important because it's going to determine what contribution you can make in the world. You have to know that. And for myself, I was always a caring person. I think because I grew up in a family where I didn't feel love, you know, there's two options. You can either get bitter or better. And I decided to get better. I decided, like the Africans, I couldn't say it then, but pretty much those people are stupid, okay?
You're stupid. You don't think I'm all that? You're stupid. Wow. But you know, God says it even better. He says, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. I mean, he puts such care in the words that when he expresses how he feels about us. So self-acceptance really shouldn't be an option or something that we quibble about. But I know because we live in this fallen world, we can be inundated with negative images of who we are and why we are not enough and why something is wrong with us. All this nonsense. That's what I call it too, nonsense. So I hope everybody who's listening or who will listen to the replay will strive to take care of themselves, because it's through the self-care process that you will get to self-acceptance. Anything else you want to share, Dr. Brown?
Well, continuing that business about knowing your potentials, knowing your talents, knowing your skills. In my case, I was saying I ended up being a caring person, and without even asking or looking, people came to me to ask my opinion about things, you know, looking for advice. And so in myself, I turned that, and with God's help, of course, I turned that into a profession of caring. You see, that was my skill. And I became a social worker, and then I moved on to become a psychotherapist. And I moved on to become a coach. And a coach meaning that now these people were the people that I worked with, people who were very, very much in pain and couldn't go anywhere because the pain kept them stuck. But then after they became unstuck, I decided, okay, well, I can still use a little more guidance, and that's where coaching comes in.
Right. You remind me of Oprah's quote that she says, I was once afraid of people saying, who does she think she is? Now I have the courage to say, this is who I am. And that sounds like your story. You were once afraid of people saying, who do you think you are? And now you get to say, I am who I am, and I get to share my gifts with the world. And that's what you're doing on this platform by offering your services free during this crisis that we are going through. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time today to share with our audience the importance of self-acceptance and the indicator that if you're not taking care of yourself, it's probably telling you that you haven't accepted yourself. So Dr. Brown, I want to say thank you again. And for those listening to the replay, please reach out to Dr. Brown. We have a support group here on the Eve Speaks platform. If you come through my platform, Eve Speaks, the coaching will be free during this time of unprecedented crises. So Dr. Brown's Instagram is ask_Dr. Mom. And to subscribe to a group or to join our group on Facebook, it's Angie Speaks, Stronger Than Splinters. And I really hope that this has helped you today to at least explore whether or not you have completely accepted yourself, or if you're struggling with self-acceptance, which is so important to your journey to not just survive, but to thrive and to become the next best version of you. Thanks again, and have a better than terrific day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Brown.
You're welcome.